People around the country are reacting to the massacre last night at a church in South Carolina. A 21-year-old white suspect has been arrested for what appears to have been a racially motivated hate crime against a black congregation. 9 people were killed. It's a national story that's all too common, the kind of violence that President Obama said today makes America different from other advanced countries. But the shooting also revives a historic trauma with repercussions felt locally. To reflect on the events and the feelings in the community, we'd like to welcome the President and CEO of the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts, Darnell Williams. Thank you very much for being with us, Darnell.
Chris, thank you for having me on your show.
I want to thank you. First of all, ask you about the personal side of this for you, people you might have known or been.
Well, one of the 9 victims happened to be related to one of our own Urban League family. Lillian Coakley retired from the National Urban League staff. She's a sweetheart of a person. Don't know what capacity of the family member that was lost, but we do know that that person was one of the 9 victims. And so it's not something, it's not a news event, it's a personal event. Somebody that we know. The local president, Otha Matthews, is the local CEO of the Urban League affiliate in Charleston. So someone that we spent time with, we know them. And so this is kind of like our Urban League family, part of our movement.
Talk about the scenario, because I think a lot of us are trying to picture this and just feel the shock of it. This is happening during a prayer meeting.
Well, I think the irony is that a church is probably one of the most safest places you think that you could be, used to be. When somebody spends an hour or more with you in a prayer meeting or a Bible study, whatever the case may be, and then pull out a weapon and reload a couple of times and shoot and kill 9 people, that is just comes from a place of hate that we just have not seen in recent days. Now, we've lived through a lot of this. We saw the 4 little girls who were killed in the 16th Street Baptist Church, the assassination of Medgar Evers, Emmett Till. So we have a list. We got DJ Henry. We got a lot of killings by police officers. So we're no strangers to trauma, to evil, to perpetration of life. That's not new to our community. The key is that we have not seen it to this magnitude and this brazen. We can legislate laws and we can put rules on the books, but we have not figured out a way, how do we change a person's heart? How do we change their attitude towards people who bleed like them and whose lives are impacted just like them? This young man has taken 9 lives, and now his life is going to be destroyed, and his family's life will forever be altered because of this heinous crime.
You know, we're all too familiar with mass shootings that are random, but there also are statistics that when it comes to hate crimes, the victims are more likely to be black, and you have the history of events that targeted black churches too.
Yeah, the churches, I think when President Obama was elected in 2008, there was a church in Springfield was burned because of that. Back in the 60s and during the Civil Rights Movement, there were churches that were burned to intimidate black people for making progress, or that they were encroaching upon social elevation and progress from their servitude status. So we got a challenge in this nation that people do not want to see black people succeed by any means, and whatever they can do to cause harm. And that comes from a space that we just don't know. And so the scripture tells us to not be overcome by evil, but to overcome evil with good. And so in spite of how heinous and tragic this event is, it's not going to define who we are as black people. We will find a way to get through it, as painful as it may be, challenging as it is. This is a wake-up call for America.
One of the other things that we're also trying to sift through here is what might have triggered the shooting. We're getting information about the suspect that he was on Facebook. He was posing in photographs with white supremacists.
Yeah, I think I saw some of the same things. I think it was from Rhodesia
in South Africa.
In South Africa, which is now Zimbabwe. And so that he really had some influences, it appears, from the early reports at 21 years of age, that this person is now, and that's why I used the comment about changing someone's heart. If you feed someone hate and racial ignorance, that's how they're going to be developed. Then his father gave him a gun at 21, and his father knew that he was going to do something of this nature. I don't know if he would have given him a weapon.
I guess it's also a wake-up call for parents that, you know, if your child, and this is a young man we're talking about here, who's doing something on the internet, and you gotta, I don't know how you can check that out and see what it is, but you shouldn't take it lightly, I guess.
Well, I think the key is that we got so many influences that are impacting young people today. And it used to be your mother, your father, or your grandparents, or your extended families that surrounded your family. They were kind of like your extended network. And if you did something dumb, they would knock you down, send you home, and get knocked down again. Today, hands off, that's not my child, I don't know what's going on. The internet is so prevalent to giving people information that takes them down the dark rabbit hole that they can't find their way out, whether it's self-suicide, whether it's causing hurt to other people, hatred, racial intolerance, crimes against humanity. All of those things are fair game if you are not prepared with a strong constitution to say that my job is to make life better, the planet better because I have lived, not make it worse.
Seeing what just happened, what would be the first thing you'd like to see to make this better in some way?
I think it comes back to the heart again, Chris. I really believe that we can put things on the books, but until you reach individuals on a personal level, that they get to know you, you get to know them, things are not going to change. But when you put labels on folks, I don't have the luxury as the president of the Spokane NAACP to change the skin of my color and pretend that I'm something else. I'm a male, I'm black, I'm going to be that until the day I die. Other people have the luxuries and options to change and be something that they may want to be or desire to be, but they can't be. And this person is in a situation where they're being fed hatred and racial ignorance, and that's putting them in a place that there is really no way to come from. So you just got to try to get them early on before they get into that dark place.
What about the sense that a church is a place where you can feel safe? Do people feel that, even if it's only because of somebody who's way off on the fringe, that a church is going to be more of a target?
I don't know if churches will be more of a target. I think that what it will signal to the watch teams and the security teams within the black churches, they're already doing this now, whereas people are coming into a congregation, people may come up to the altar call and leave their bags and their belongings. And while you're in a faith setting, other people are there for maybe ulterior objectives. So the watch team and security teams are supposed to be watching to making sure that nobody takes anything or leave anything as they exit their sanctuary. So there might just be a heightened awareness. Now, I'm sure that all the watch teams will be meeting this week to go over reviewing procedures and making sure if they don't have security cameras, I'm sure that they are going to be talking about installing them so that you have a view of people who come to the church and who leave, so you have some type of record. Because it hadn't been for South Carolina's video, we wouldn't have known what this person looked like.
Yeah, I know it's almost normal for that to be the case, let's say in a federal building, but to be that way in a church now, doesn't that feel strange to you?
Well, not really. We have them in schools, we have them in churches, we have them in government buildings. Eventually, you're going to have a cookout at your house, and you're going to have a wand to scan people before they come to your backyard for a cookout.
Or the police come. Thank you very much for being with us.
All right, thank you for having me.
From the Urban League, Darnell Williams. We'll have more news in just a moment.